The gorilla is a primate belonging to the order of hominids. It can grow to the size of a human, but is far more massive and powerful. Despite its impressive physical strength, the gorilla is not considered an aggressive animal. It primarily feeds on vegetation and is known for its peaceful and calm disposition. However, humans have played the main role in the rapid and continuous decline of gorilla populations throughout history. Description of the gorilla. Until relatively recently, gorillas, along with chimpanzees and orangutans, were classified as members of the family Pongidae. However, modern taxonomy places them in the family Hominidae, the same family as humans. Genetic studies have shown that gorillas and humans share a common ancestor. Around 10 million years ago, gorillas branched off on their own evolutionary path, while chimpanzees separated from the human lineage approximately 4 million years ago. Despite this knowledge, no true fossil remains of gorilla ancestors have yet been found. Scientists explain this by noting that organic remains rarely survive in the tropical regions where gorillas live. As a result, research in this area is difficult, and scientists must often rely on data from other species, which has led to many misconceptions in the past. It is believed that the closest known relative of the modern gorilla was Corapathecus, which inhabited the Earth about 11 million years ago and is known only from fossil evidence. According to researchers, the early ancestors of gorillas were relatively small, as they lived primarily in trees. They faced few natural predators and had an abundance of food sources, which meant they expended little energy in search of nourishment. Their intelligence was likely quite limited, although modern gorillas are considered highly intelligent animals. The present-day species of gorillas took shape over the last tens of thousands of years. During this time, they lived in two geographically isolated regions, which led to significant genetic divergence between populations. Although humans encountered gorillas long before, their first scientific description appeared only in 1847. Historical records suggest that as early as the 5th century BCE, Carthaginian sailors were aware of the existence of such creatures, which they called gorillae, though this information remains unverified. Roughly 5 centuries ago, explorers described encounters with large apes that strongly resembled gorillas. The first recorded description came from Andrew Battelle in 1559. An interesting note, scientists began to reconsider the intelligence of gorillas after observing a young female cracking nuts with a stone, a behavior she had not been taught. Previously, it was believed that only chimpanzees possessed such problem-solving abilities, while gorillas were thought to be far less intelligent. Later observations showed that gorillas could use logs as floating platforms and test water depth with sticks, demonstrating a surprising degree of cognitive ability and adaptability. Appearance and characteristics. Gorillas are among the largest primates, reaching up to 1.8 meters, about 5 feet 11 inches, in height and weighing between 150 and 200 kilograms, 330 to 440 pounds. When compared to a human of similar height, a gorilla appears much more massive, with shoulders up to 1 meter wide. Their muscle mass is significantly greater, making them up to 8 times stronger than an average human. The gorilla's body is more square-shaped than the elongated form of a human. They have long limbs, and their hands and feet are broad and strong. The powerful jaws project slightly forward, and the head is relatively large, with a distinctive ridge of tough skin on the top. The forehead is low, and the eyes are set close together. Their digestive system is extremely well developed, as gorillas consume a large amount of fibrous plant material. Consequently, their abdomen appears more prominent compared to the chest. The entire body is covered with long, thick hair, except for small areas around the face, chest, and palms. At birth, a gorilla's fur is brownish in color, gradually darkening to almost black as the animal matures. Adult males can be easily recognized by a distinct silver-gray patch of hair across their back, a feature that gives rise to the term silverback. With age, this hair may disappear entirely. Although their dense fur may seem unnecessary for tropical climates, it actually helps them stay warm at night, when temperatures can drop below 15 degrees Celsius (59 degrees Fahrenheit). The nape and crown of adult males are particularly well developed, causing the hair on top of their heads to stand upright, one of the few clear distinguishing features between males and females. In general, females are smaller and more slender than males. Western gorillas differ from eastern gorillas in having lighter colored fur and smaller overall body size. Depending on sex, Western gorillas range in body length from 130 to 170 centimeters, 4.3 to 5.6 feet, and weigh between 60 and 160 kilograms, 130 to 350 pounds. Habitat of gorillas. Western and eastern gorillas inhabit different ecosystems across the African continent. Western gorillas are found primarily in the western regions of Central Africa, including Gabon, Cameroon, and the Republic of the Congo, as well as in several neighboring countries where their numbers are smaller. Eastern gorillas, on the other hand, live mainly in the Virunga Mountains and Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. Genetic studies indicate that the separation of these two populations occurred around 1 million years ago, though limited interbreeding continued for some time afterward. Complete genetic isolation is believed to have taken place approximately 100,000 years ago. Many scientists link this divergence to the formation of a large inland lake that once existed in Central Africa. Gorillas prefer lowland tropical forests rich in vegetation, often in swampy areas. The abundance of grasses, shrubs, and trees plays a crucial role in determining suitable habitats, as these animals require large amounts of plant food, especially given that they live in large social groups. According to researchers, food scarcity prevented gorillas from spreading into some regions of the Congo Basin, which ultimately contributed to the separation of the western and eastern populations. What do gorillas eat? Gorillas are herbivorous and, due to their large size, require a substantial amount of food each day. Finding enough food takes a great deal of time, but their massive jaws and strong teeth allow them to easily process coarse vegetation. Their diet typically includes bamboo shoots, bedstraw, galium, wild celery, nettle, pygeum leaves, leaves and stems of vines. Because plant-based food contains relatively few minerals, gorillas sometimes eat clay to supplement their diet. In the wild, they do not consume animal matter, but in captivity, they can adapt to foods commonly eaten by humans. Although eastern and western gorillas eat similar types of vegetation, their preferences differ. Eastern gorillas mostly feed on leaves and stems, consuming fruit only occasionally. Western gorillas, in contrast, have a fruit-dominated diet, with foliage serving as a secondary food source. They often travel long distances to find fruit-bearing trees. Despite their constant foraging, the caloric value of their diet remains quite low, so gorillas must remember and revisit areas rich in food while continuously exploring new ones. Interestingly, gorillas rarely drink water, their plant-based diet provides enough moisture. In fact, they avoid rain whenever possible, seeking shelter beneath the canopies of tall trees during the wet season. Important fact: to meet their nutritional needs, an adult gorilla must consume at least 15 kilograms, about 33 pounds, of green vegetation every day. Behavior and lifestyle. For gorillas, finding enough food takes almost half of the day. They have to move constantly, though it's not an easy task, since they walk on all fours. While moving, they rest their knuckles, the backs of their hands, against the ground. Although they can stand upright, gorillas rarely walk on two legs. For such powerful creatures, they actually feel more confident and comfortable in trees, where they move with surprising ease and agility. During the midday heat, gorillas usually take a long break, resting together in the shade of large trees. Once the temperature cools down, they resume patrolling their home range in search of food. At night, gorillas build nests high in the trees, which serve as their sleeping places. They construct a new nest every evening, since they seldom sleep in the same spot twice. The process of nest building is an important part of their daily routine and usually takes up the second half of the day, lasting until dusk. Despite their massive build and intimidating facial expressions, gorillas are generally calm and peaceful animals, except in rare stressful situations. Their tranquil nature is partly due to their slow, deliberate feeding habits. They spend hours chewing fibrous plants, much like cattle ruminating in a field. Gorillas also seem aware that excessive movement requires more energy, and since their food is low in calories, energy conservation becomes essential for survival. The young gorillas, however, are much more active and playful, constantly moving, climbing, and exploring. This activity is vital for their physical and social development. Reproduction and offspring. Gorillas prefer to live in social groups, which may consist of just a few individuals or several dozen members. Each group typically includes one dominant male, 2 to 5 females, and several young or juvenile gorillas. They lead a sedentary lifestyle, occupying a specific territory that they patrol about once every couple of weeks. When two groups happen to meet, territorial disputes often arise. The dominant male, known as the silverback, is the leader and protector of the group. He decides when and where the group moves, and where they will spend the night. Conflicts within the group usually occur between females, often escalating into biting fights, which the silverback quickly intervenes to stop. His authority is absolute. Occasionally, tensions arise between males, especially when a young, maturing male challenges the dominant leader. Fortunately, these confrontations rarely turn violent. The rivals usually limit themselves to beating their chests, roaring loudly, and standing upright to display their full size and strength. In the end, one male admits defeat and retreats. Leadership in the group grants the dominant male exclusive mating rights with the females. After mating, the female's gestation period lasts around 37 to 38 weeks. She gives birth only once every 4 years, as raising a single infant requires continuous care and protection. A newborn gorilla weighs no more than 2 kilograms, about 4.5 pounds. The mother carries her baby on her back for many months, until it learns to move independently. Even after that, the young stay close to their mothers for up to 5 years, gradually learning to forage and socialize. True independence is reached by around 10 years of age. Interesting fact: gorillas communicate using a complex system of vocalizations, facial expressions, and gestures, though their sounds bear no resemblance to human speech. New groups are formed when mature gorillas leave their original families to live independently. Over time, they may start new groups or join existing ones. This transitional period can last for several years. During the breeding season, females sometimes leave their groups to mate with males from neighboring troops, especially when there are too many females in one group. Similarly, males may also leave their families, taking 1 or 2 females with them to form new social groups, avoiding a solitary life. Natural enemies of gorillas. In the wild, gorillas have virtually no natural predators. Their large size, physical strength, and habit of living in cohesive groups make them an unlikely target even for the largest carnivores. Most predators simply avoid any confrontation with these powerful primates. Gorillas have a peaceful and non-aggressive nature, which has helped them coexist harmoniously with other species. They often graze calmly near herds of hoofed animals, which seem to recognize that the presence of gorillas means safety. No predator would dare attack while such formidable creatures are nearby. Conflicts within gorilla groups are also rare and short-lived, further emphasizing their gentle temperament. The only true enemy of gorillas is humans. For centuries, the indigenous peoples living in gorilla habitats did not hunt them, respecting the balance of the forest. This changed dramatically with the arrival of European colonizers. Europeans began to hunt gorillas for sport, capture them for zoos and exhibitions, and trade them at high prices. Eventually, local populations joined the trade as well. Interesting fact: gorillas almost never attack first. However, if they perceive a human's actions as hostile and that person attempts to flee, the dominant males may chase and bite, delivering several shallow wounds, but not killing. Among African communities, it is believed that bite marks from a gorilla are a sign of shame, proof that the person provoked the animal first. Population and conservation status. These remarkable inhabitants of our planet now stand on the brink of extinction, largely due to human activity. When Europeans arrived in Central Africa, they not only hunted gorillas but also brought deadly diseases to which gorillas had no natural immunity. Entire populations were wiped out. Human influence continues to threaten them both directly and indirectly. Massive deforestation for agriculture and industry destroys the dense forests that gorillas depend on for food and shelter. As a result, their habitable territories shrink every year. Another serious threat is armed conflict in the regions where gorillas live. Civil wars and resource-driven conflicts lead to the destruction of habitats, illegal hunting, and the collapse of conservation efforts. Both humans and wildlife suffer from these ongoing struggles. There are two main species of gorillas, Western and Eastern, each divided into subspecies. Western lowland gorilla, gorilla, classified as vulnerable, though no strict protective measures are in place. The total population is estimated at 130,000 to 200,000 individuals. Conservation status, endangered. Cross River gorilla, Gorilla dili, found in isolated forest areas hundreds of kilometers from lowland populations. The total number is only about 300 individuals, giving it the same critically endangered status. Eastern mountain gorilla, Gorilla beringii, at the beginning of the 21st century, there were only around 650 individuals. Thanks to intensive protection efforts, the population has grown to about 1,000, which is considered a major success. Conservation status, endangered. Eastern lowland gorilla, Gorilla beringii graueri, the population numbers around 5,000 individuals. Despite living in relatively stable habitats, this subspecies also faces serious extinction threats. Protection of gorillas. Until quite recently, very little attention was given to gorilla conservation. Throughout much of the 20th century, African nations faced numerous internal challenges, political instability, poverty, and war, leaving them with little capacity to focus on wildlife protection. Armed conflicts had the most destructive impact. Wars forced large populations of people to migrate, and as they settled in new areas, forests were cleared for farmland and settlements. This led to a sharp reduction in the gorilla's natural habitats. At the same time, gorillas were heavily hunted, both for trade and for meat. In some regions, gorilla meat was even consumed as food, which further devastated their numbers. In recent decades, however, there has been a gradual shift toward recovery. Conservation initiatives have expanded, and national parks and protected reserves have been established in several African countries. Thanks to these efforts, gorilla populations are showing slow but steady growth. Nevertheless, it is far too early to relax. The progress achieved remains fragile, and much work still lies ahead. What matters most is that active conservation is now underway, offering hope for the survival of these magnificent primates. Here's the video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.